Nico Steves here. Welcome to the 500th episode of Constant Procession. I want to offer on this 500th podcast a retrospective about the history and origins of these podcasts here in March of 2026. The first episode launched in the summer of 2016, 9.5 years ago. Sheesh. The funny thing is, I thought I had been creating them for just 7.5 years, but now I finally realize it's been 9.5, and I was off by 110 episodes. So that should certainly give you a hint of how much I've enjoyed producing these episodes. Constant Procession podcasts come out once a week on my website, nicosteves.com, also Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook, just to name a few of the other places. Truth be known, these podcasts actually evolved from a personal desire to get the word out about my books. I listened to what authors at various workshops advised. Without fail, their mantra was, quote, "If you wish to get your books out there, an author needs a platform that includes a website plus consistent social media," unquote. So that was the genesis for the creation of nicosteves.com. Now, in the beginning, I wondered, what would I populate nicosteves.com with? I did not favor blogging as they advised, nor did I feel comfortable with producing a vlog or video blog due to the extreme time commitments. For me, the choice was to present something in between. I decided on an audio blog, and voila, these podcasts were born. I named it Constant Procession because, as it says in my first book entitled The Constant Procession, which is a religious memoir, quote, "There is a constant procession of people who turn to the Virgin Mary for her assistance to ask her Son for help," unquote. I created the website, and after a period of time, I provided each individual podcast its own web page. These pages include photos, illustrations, occasional videos, and links for deeper dives into other materials available with respect to that particular podcast topic. Also built into each page was, and for the record still continues today, a space where listeners comment or provide other materials about the topic of the podcast. So for the first season, I used my book, The Constant Procession, and I podcasted the entire audiobook version, releasing it in short chapter installments for the first online season. The unexpected gift for making these Constant Procession podcasts has been my respect towards the Virgin Mary. She has touched my life in ways far too numerous to list. But also, this gift included the opportunity to write my book on apparitions and travel during the process. I continue today on this quest. I have been honored to learn even more about saints and saintly people who have been involved with the Virgin Mary. I've toured humble shrines and historic churches. All of these have a common theme. They're inspired by the Virgin Mary. And I've been drawn to touring some of these places where she has appeared over the centuries. The unknown benefit for me that I only just realized has been that the Virgin Mary, through the production of these weekly podcasts, has propped me up through thick and thin, through good and bad times, through COVID, through the hospice time and the grief when my lovely wife passed well before her time. There's a routine for building a weekly show that includes creating content with a real deadline. Time and again, this has offered me direction as a podcast goes live every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. And now, as I have retired from video production and moved on to work as an author, these podcasts and web pages have fulfilled my initial goal of being the social media space and creating that mythical author platform. It's been an amazing ride so far. I have learned the influence of the Virgin Mary is all around. I've done podcasts about this. I've been allowed to go from Paris to Buffalo, New York, that was once known as the Paris of the West, to see the amazing Basilique Notre-Dame de Victories in Paris, built in the 1700s, and how it inspired Father Nelson Baker during his studies to become a priest. His unwavering faith in our Blessed Mother and his accomplishments are incredible to comprehend. He was known to never take credit, but he always attributed it to the Virgin Mary with his famous 4 words, "She did it all." Father Baker developed Our Lady of Victory National Shrine and Basilica in Lackawanna, New York, as inspired by the Madonna, plus the associated City of Charity, which now is called a comprehensive charitable agency for children and families in Western New York. This was inspired by the Virgin Mary in that Parisian basilica, whose walls, ceilings, and floors are covered with over 35,000 plaques of appreciation to the Virgin Mary for her intercessions with her Son. Father Baker's church in America has been praised by the Vatican as one of the greatest churches in the U.S. To visit these places, frequently church communities that evolved or greatly expanded due to the Virgin Mary's influence, and to be able to bring my experiences to you through these podcasts with respect to the Virgin Mary's influence has been an unforeseen joy for me. But what about the future, you ask? Well, I plan on visiting and learning other saint-oriented apparition stories. There are so many more to tell, and let me be clear with respect to my approach. I tend to pursue established apparitions versus someone seeing the Virgin Mary in a loaf of bread or a street sign. That's just the way I roll. Something else that I'd like to see going forward in the future episodes are stories that you are aware of, or send me stories that you would like to know more about. Other content stories that in the past have been rewarding to share with you have been learning about contemporary people's stories, stories about people who've given the ultimate sacrifice. Other types of experiences where a person was in the right place at the right time to help others via a miraculous experience. In the past, some of you out there have brought these amazing stories to share. And so I'm asking for your audience participation towards this end on new podcasts. As this 500th podcast comes to an end, I would be remiss if I do not give thanks to all who have contributed to past episodes, and of course you who have signed up on the mailing list, or just thanks to you who come here and listen from week to week. So this is just a brief look back over these past 9 years. And for those interested in some of the things that goes into the creation of a podcast each week, here are just a few of the hats that I wear. Creative writer, narrator, producer, website updater using WordPress, and distributing it using podcast and website host companies for the podcast storage and retrieval, as well as the website host for my website. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already, please go to my nicosteves.com website and get on the mailing list. And please tell a friend to join. By the way, the podcast can be found on nicosteves.com, X at StevesNikos, Facebook, Nico Steves, and YouTube, /@nicosteves.youtube. Oh, one other thing. For those of you currently reading my book, The Very Fine Light, please, when you finish it, do go to the book's Amazon.com page and rate it. I have a link at nicosteves.com that will get you to the page on Amazon. That's it for this episode. Please come back next week for another exciting installment of Constant Procession. Please feel free to contact me at nicosteves.com. That's Nikos Steves, Steves.com. If you like this episode and for more, share them with friends